Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix versus Cinema. We are 1 week closer to cinemas opening. Pubs are reopening next week. And if you're listening to this outside of the UK, you might not understand what it is I'm talking about. But pubs are reopening next week. And if pubs are reopening, that means that cinemas cannot be far behind. So we know that I think by June, we will have cinemas open again. And, okay, I go ahead of myself in all my excitement of the fact that cinemas are almost back here. My name is Tosin. I am the host of this show. And joining me, as always, on the Isle of Wight are Sharon.
Hello.
And Shaun.
Hey, hiya.
Right, so yeah, cinemas are on their way back. We reckon cinemas are on their way back, that we should have them pretty soon. Films are beginning to say this is when we're going to be releasing, this is when we're going to be having things out again. And so, almost in preparation for us getting back into the swing of talking about 6 films a week, where 3 things are in the cinema, 3 things are at home, we are trying to sort of narrow down what it is that we talk about on the show. So, Shaun, I know this is going to mean that a lot of your stuff falls by the wayside because,
as always, yeah,
because you watch at least 4 things every week. And that's been conservative. 4 things every week. I think, Sharon, you will probably be, like, relieved because, like, the pressure to watch anything is off because, hey.
Yeah.
Because, as we know, you have been experiencing TV fatigue throughout this lockdown period. I think with my new life as a father, I think I can handle about 1 thing at home and 1 thing in the cinema each week. I think I can just about do it. So we should be good. But what we're going to do this week is that we have been watching things at as the name of the show says, Netflix Cinema. We usually watch things in cinema, watch things at home, and then say, where has the money been better spent this week? Or was it still worth it going out to the cinema? And so what we're going to do this week is that I have brought 1 thing to the table of what I've watched this week that I want to talk about. Sharon, excuse me, Sharon, you have 1 thing you want to talk about, and Shaun, you have 5 things you want to talk about, but we
5 possibly, yeah.
but we've negotiated, we've twisted your arm, and you will give a quick prezi of all the other things, and then there's 1 you shall bring forward and say, but this is the one I really want to talk about.
Yeah.
This is one I want to bring forward. Okay.
Okay.
So, Shaun, let's kick off with. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do a couple of your also rants.
Yep.
Then we'll go to Sharon and we'll do her thing. Then we'll come back to you for some also rants. Then we'll go and we'll do my thing. Then we can come up with your final thing that you actually want to present at the end. Okay?
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds really, really good.
Okay, so Shaun, let's kick off. What are your first 2 also rants?
Okay, well, the one I watched yesterday, because I liked the synopsis of it and I sounded it, but it's called Creation Stories.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, it's a brand new one, 2021, and it's about the infamous Creation Records label that got Oasis. And basically, the story is, there's a Scots guy that's producer, and it's all his early life, and then he manages to sign Oasis, and it goes from one. Now, I can sum this one up really, really super quick, and just say that it started off absolutely brilliant, absolutely with all the bands that I like, all the music. Yep, okay, all the music. It was all lovely, and it was and then it just fell on its backside, and it was dull and terrible. So the first 20 minutes was really exciting because it was all early bands. It was punk. It was, the new wavy sort of stuff. And he got this little band together and he managed it. Didn't really go anywhere. And then he tried these other bands. And then he got one called the Jesus and Mary Chain.
Oh, yeah.
And you've heard of them, I guess. Jesus and Mary Chain. Yeah.
I haven't heard anything by them, but I've heard of them.
Yeah. And but then he managed to. He's in the pub one day, and he manages to sign Oasis. And basically, the whole film was him telling the story to this, and he gets involved in loads of drugs and loads of. This is. Have I got to do both of them?
No. Oh. This is just for the one.
Oh, this is just for the one. Okay.
We'll give you 2 minutes per film.
Oh, right, okay. So 2 minutes, right? Well, I could probably have done this one in a minute and say that no, it's really dull and boring and not very good at all. And I probably. The first 20 minutes was okay good, and that's purely because of the music, and I liked the bands and the music they were playing, and I could relate to it. But after that, it was just him getting drunk and all the drugs he'd done and all the people he met, and it was just drugs and drink and drugs and drink and drugs and drink and drugs. I didn't really go anywhere. So that one was, for me personally, wasn't worth a look. It wasn't worth a look in at all. Okay.
How many stars would you give that?
2.
2. Is it Rhys Ifans who plays the guy?
No. It's the guy who was in Trainspotting, the one who played Spud in Trainspotting.
Oh, Ewan Bremer.
Ewan Bremer. That was a guy.
Oh yeah, because this is I think I read an article about this film on the BBC website. But it seems that a lot of the films that are made around that period, that sort of Britpop period, seem to fall down that rabbit hole where they start off strong and then don't really have a story to tell.
Yeah. So pretty poor, really. I wouldn't ever bother with that again.
All right, cool.
Right, okay. Next one we go for. What should I go for the next one? What one would you like to see? Should we do Gattaca? This is an older film.
Oh yeah, Gattaca.
Gattaca. I'd never
Uma Thurman.
That's it. And I'd never seen this film, and I know. I mean, I'd seen it about, and I'd seen it on, and seen it, but I'd never actually watched it.
Yeah.
And have you seen this, Sharon? Have you seen Gattaca?
No, it's passed me by at the time. I don't know why, but I think I just didn't watch it at the time.
But that's it. So this story basically is about the job you get, or the how you do in life is all determined by your DNA.
By your genes, yeah.
By your genes. You can have a DNA test. You can, and if you've got a potential partner, you can get a piece of their hair and go to this place, and it will tell you what
whether you're allowed to or not.
And the story is Ethan Hawke, and he basically takes on this persona of should we call them alphas for the want of something else? And
yeah.
And then Jude Law is the actual guy with the blood, and yet they have to take the blood, and he takes his wee, and he has to, every time he goes in for a check, he's got like a bag on his leg, which he.
It's a sort of future society.
Society where everything.
A bit like in Logan's Run, they say everything you're not allowed to live past 30. In this, everything is determined by your DNA.
Yeah. And then there's a murder. And so they want to try and find this murder. So they hoover all the machines. They're looking for all. I mean, it was quite interesting. I wouldn't particularly say it was a standout movie. For me, it was pretty standard fare. I'm glad I watched it, and it was quite interesting. Terrific performances, and Jude Law and Ethan Hawke did look very, very similar. You could see that they might, even with the photographs, that they were done with slicked hair and stuff.
Yeah,
you could see. So for me, this one would probably just be a 3-star and pretty average film. I don't know. I assume you've seen it, Toes, yeah?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen Gattaca. Because that was like a 90s movie. So when you think about it, it sort of predated Black Mirror by God knows how many years. Yeah. And I quite like the film. I think that we're running out of time. But I think what it puts forward as an idea, or as in this is the way the world could be, I think it realizes it very well. And I think the whole thing where the idea that not everything is determined by your genes, it does it quite well. But anyway, I'm sort of extending your period. So, but Gattaca, 3 out of 5. 5. And it's as you can see, it's a film that I would actually love to talk about more, because it's a film that I think prompts discussion. All right,
we save that one then.
Yeah, we've had 2 of Shaun's. Now, as we promised, we now have to go to Sharon. And Sharon, okay, so Shaun had 2 minutes for his also rans, and now Sharon, we are going to give you 7 minutes for your feature presentation.
My main feature. Okay, I saw season 1 of a program called The Expanse. Now,
because according to Netflix for cinema, we need to remind ourselves of some of these rules, don't we? Because cinemas are coming back. If we bring a TV show to the fore, we have to have seen the entire season, because that's when a story is complete. All right.
So there are. I kept popping up on my "you might like this" list on Amazon rather than on Netflix. Yeah. So there are 5 seasons, and I'd heard nothing about it for the first 4 seasons, but then people started murmuring about, this is one of a good thing that you probably would have missed, but it is worth catching up with. So I thought I will catch up with Expanse, and as I do with all series, I started at the beginning. So I can only review season 1. But season 1 is set in the future, where the Expanse is basically the human technology and commercialism and capitalism has expanded to encompass the whole of the solar system. Mars has been colonized, and then the outer planets have also been colonized, and they are mined for their resources. And before the setting of our series, people basically went out as migrant workers to the outer planets to work as miners, and their children and grandchildren have been raised on these mining platforms. that circle these planets and moons, where they basically are these giant space stations. And a lot of them have never been on planet. They've never been to Earth. They've never lived anywhere but in an artificial environment. And so they're beginning to develop mutations. They can't live in gravity. They're so used to artificial gravity that their limbs have become extended, and they're taller, and they're sort of lankier, and they're looser, and they're becoming like a different class of citizen. So on these platforms, they have formed this political group called the OPA, the Outer Planets Alliance, where they're trying to get rights for their people. So this is the broad setting. And then in the middle of this, there is a very wealthy man from Earth. His daughter has gone missing. She'd gone on a fact-finding mission to one of the outer planets, and she has gone missing. And a local police officer who is from the outer planets, who's never been to Earth himself, he has been born on one of these platforms, has been tasked with the job of trying to find out what happens to her. And as he investigates, there's another sequence of seemingly random events where a space freighter, which is taking ice to the outer planets, because one of the most valuable resources on the planets is water and any form of moisture. So they ship in ice.
Yeah.
And this space freighter was responding to an SOS message, and then is fired upon by an unknown assailant. And everyone on board is killed, except for one small away team that were going to investigate the distress signal. So you have these three seemingly events. You've got this the OPA terrorists, you've got this missing person, and then you've got this unidentified space attack.
Yeah.
And all these threads, as the series goes on, come together, and you realize that these seemingly random events are actually connected, and that there's a bigger picture going on, which is basically a power play between Earth, Mars, and the outer planets. And that is how the story, I can't give you any more details, but you then see this story from people on Earth who are like the political machinations. You see people on the planets, like the head of the OPA is played by Jared Harris. The police officer is played by Thomas Jane. And I don't know any of the people on the spaceship, but they're character actors that you would go, I think I've seen you in something before.
Oh, is that guy from that thing?
Yeah, he's that guy. Yeah. And so and then on Earth, there's some amazing character actors on Earth. But again, it's the names you go, I know you, and I know you, and I know you, but I can't think what your name is.
Yeah.
So there's this cast of characters, but yeah, as it's all these sort of separate threads all begin to draw in, and then it becomes a bigger story.
So I've heard a lot of good things about this show. It's one of those things that everybody who watches it says, oh my God, you've got to get into it. And obviously once you start talking about space, everybody starts thinking about Star Trek. But this seems a lot more political, almost sort of Games of Thronesy in space. Yeah,
there are maneuverings and things that are happening that you think there's something behind this more than just what it would appear.
Yeah.
And so, but I thought, to me, it felt like, if you were to jump forward into 200 years, we probably won't be wearing jumpsuits and flying hovercraft, and be dealing with thousands of alien species.
Yeah.
We're probably going to be a bit like we are now, but just a couple of hundred years in the future.
Yeah.
So there will be technology, but it won't be suddenly like light years. It'll
move forward a bit, but humans will still be humans.
Yeah, so when they're on these spaceships, you can see the engineering of the spaceships. They're not polished, smooth, with Jeffries tubes going everywhere. There are ladders, there are bolts, there are nuts, there are things that break, there are things that you have to patch together because you haven't got access to the repairs, and you aren't part of the Federation. When you walk in a zero gravity atmosphere, they have like these gravity boots that allow you they're magnetized, so you can clink, clink, clink. So it feels like a more real environment than some of the environments you see in other science fiction there.
Would you dare say it's what Star Trek Discovery Season 3 should have been, maybe?
I would head down that line, because I think Star Trek can't resist the gloss and the glamour, and they can't resist having beautiful people in every scene. Whereas I think there's certainly some handsome people, but they're not all glammed up.
Yeah.
So you get the feeling that it's probably as you can almost smell the petrol fumes and the artificial air, and you get the feel of it, that this is grittier, it's earthier, it's sort of greasy and sweaty.
Okay, so did it live up to the hype? How many stars would you give it?
No, I thought it was good. I thought you have to give it some attention, because sometimes they talk about things you think, I need to remember that, because it's probably going to come up later. So some of the political talk I was ignoring, and I was thinking, I probably should pay attention to all that political stuff. So I'd say it was worth it. It's good. It's worth it. But I'm going to carry on watching it. I would say, for me, it's a strong 3, heading towards a 4.
Yeah.
The reason I wouldn't quite give it a 4 is because at the moment I haven't yet found that one character who I'm going, come on. They're all a bit like, I like them all, but I'm not really rooting for any particular one or another. So I could see it in the future. If someone dies, I'd be a bit like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah. Is it a bit like June?
I was thinking that.
Not as stylized as June.
No, right, okay.
Yeah, but when you were mentioning the beginning thing and everybody moving things around, I was thinking this sounds, even though I've never read Dune, or actually I've read a little bit of Dune. The little I've read, I was like, that sounds a little Dune-y, shall we say?
I would say the only thing I could say classic cinema that you would probably, it's 2001: A Space Odyssey, not as stylized as that, but you get the feeling that this is. It's telling a bigger story than just what you see, and maybe a bit of aliens thrown in there without the aliens, but that sort of atmosphere. That
sort of lived in
that
future.
Nostromo type ship is a more recognisable ship than the Enterprise or the Discovery. So I would say a strong 3, but not quite a 4 for me yet.
All right, a strong 3 for the first season of The Expanse. I mean, anything that gets to 5 seasons is either really good or just really bad.
Or they just can't, they haven't got the heart to kill it.
Yeah, well, no, like Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Yes.
I mean, how is that on season? It's finally ending on season 20-something. But anyway,
I haven't seen a single episode of that, so I'm
me
happy
neither.
to say that it passed me by.
I tried. I really tried. I was just kind of, I don't understand why are we watching this? Why is this of note? I don't get this. I just had to conclude it wasn't made for me. All right, so Shaun, we're going back to you. Well, your next set of also rans.
Okay, next set of also rans. Well, let's do Antebellum then. Okay.
Oh, Antebellum. I want to hear about this.
Unless, I mean, will you get to see it? Because we can save this one until, if you think you might get a chance to see it, I could save this in the pocket for a couple of weeks because I could talk a little bit more about it.
Okay. Before we start the timer, I'll tell you why I haven't seen this film.
Right.
Because this film, the trailer, this was supposed to be released in cinemas, and it hasn't been released in cinemas because COVID. So I think it wasn't a big enough name, even though it has Janelle Monáe in it, whose stock is rising and rising as an actress or actor, so it was supposed to be released in cinemas, and they released the trailer somewhere in the middle of last year, and I was like, I'm not watching that film. And it has to do with this whole thing, because obviously there's a lot of stuff that's being done. There's a TV show at the moment called Them, which is focusing a lot on black pain and the pain that black people have to do that comes from historical issues. Yeah. And I think something's cracked in me. That means I don't want to watch stories.
You've had enough.
Where I don't want to watch stories. I know it's history, and I think it needs to be pointed out, and it needs to be. People need to realize that there's some stuff that we're dealing with today that stems from all the stuff that happened back then, happened in the slave trade, happened in how Europe treated Africa to begin with. Yeah. But when I saw the trailer for this film, and the trailer for this film made me think, it starts off and it looks like it's the Antebellum style, which is where the title comes from. And you have Janelle Monáe, and she is in the middle of a field picking cotton, and then she looks up and she sees a plane. And obviously you're thinking, hang on a second, if the slave trade's on, there shouldn't be a plane. And so what this looked like, it looked a little bit Get Out to me, in that it looked as if there was almost a group of people, and this might be totally wrong, but this is what I thought when I saw the trailer for this. It looked like it was a group of people who were capturing black people and taking them to a world where they wanted to pretend like it was the old school slavery time. So they were taking, and so you'd see bits in this trailer where Janelle Monáe looks like a modern day woman who lives in New York or something, and is all dressed up, and then there's some other, she's dressed up as a slave, and I was just kind of like, this film makes it look as if they've done a Get Out thing where they kidnapped black people, put them in a field because they want to go back to how things were. And I was like, I can't watch that film. It might be great, it might be brilliant, but I'm sorry, I can't watch that film.
Well, that's okay then, because you pretty much said the film really, and
that's what I thought it was. That's what I thought it was from the trailer.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I thought I don't think I can handle this.
I mean, the reason I sort of watched it, because I'm quite where I am. I can watch the stuff is when I'm in the room. I've got the TV, so I can have it on actually, or I can start doing something, and then I can flick through. And if there's something that's starting, and I start to watch it, and then I can watch the whole thing if it get and. I'm interested in the American Civil War. It's sort of a thing, and like you say, it starts off on a plantation where you've got the Confederates and generals, and they're all, and so that's exactly what it is really, and it is pretty much, Tosin. It is in your, and I mean, recently I think I must have seen so many of these
stories about,
if we can call them racial dramas or whatever they are, but
black stories,
so because I've watched quite a lot. And to start off with, it was really, really interesting. There's a few cruel moments, and there's some nasty things that go on. But at the end, I won't say what it is at the end, how everything is, but the ending is just really, really, it's one of my stupid, huffy, cross me legs. Like, come on, no way, escapees, what? It's like, and people doing the chasing, they're just doing stupid things. And it's just like, yeah, no. So it's not really. I'm glad you're saying you're probably not going to worry about it, because I didn't think it was that good. It had moments, and the acting was good. I can't fault the acting, and the acting was good.
I'm a big fan of Janelle Monáe here.
Yeah. I mean, terrific acting, and it was. When the film started off, you did think, oh, we're in the deep south. This is the deep south. This is like a Confederate plantation, but no, it didn't really grab me. Didn't. So this probably be getting towards a low 3,
right.
A low 3. So I'll give it a 3 just purely for the start, but it's not a high one. I'll just give it that for the acting. The acting makes it 3.
I'll tell you if I ever get over my issues and then get around to watching this film.
Okay.
But I think there is a certain brand of film where I just can't hack.
No.
At the moment, I just can't hack it. It's the reason why I have not seen. Why I have not seen When They See Us. Everything I've read about When They See Us says that it is an amazing piece of television, and I am pretty sure it is, because it's Ava DuVernay. I've watched the first 30 minutes of the season, and I thought, this is good, this is great, this is too real, can't watch it. And I don't know, maybe it's just as I've grown older, all of a sudden I can't handle. There's something about stories where it's just black people being abused that just it gets me in a weird place. All right, do we have another one before you come to your main thing?
Yes, we have got another one that we can do, which is called The Furnace.
The Furnace.
All
right.
This is a period drama in Australia, and it is about before motorised transport, they used camels. So these are like camel drovers which carry the stuff across. And there's been a bank robbery, some gold's been robbed, and a certain thing happens. Someone's got injured, and it's basically a journey with this drover over the gold. The good thing about this, actually, I probably could have spent a bit more on this, because it's a real. There's Sikhs in it, there's Muslims in it, there's Chinese in it, there's English in it. There's just like, and it's just like a whole period, and it's so convincing. It is such a good, convincing film of the period in Australia, and obviously they're in the outback, obviously, which is why they've got the camels. So, and basically it's this story with this guy with the camels teams up with the guy who's robbed the place, saves him, and then it's this little journey, and then they're being chased. There's this other subplot where the police or the sort of police are trying to chase it and find out where this gold's gone, and they come across these Chinese people and there's a bit of a shootout, and this is a great film. I'm really super impressed with this. And it really, and I mean, it's based on true story. Oh, the Aborigines are in it as well, and basically the ending, I would say the story is because the Aborigines, they have to go out into the bush with nothing, and survive and all that. So and basically it's a journey, and at the end of the film, the sort of he's obviously, because certain things happen, and he basically gives up the gold, and so he's done his journey. So it's almost like he's been out in the bush, and that's
his walkabout, isn't it?
Yeah. So he's done that, because they get a bit funny with him. The Aborigines get a bit funny with him when they see that he's got the gold. You know, they're like, well, we want nothing to do with this because, you know, this will bring trouble on us and all that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You need to go. You need to go out into the wild. You know. So yeah, it's a very, very powerful film. I really, really liked this movie. I thought it was excellent, and I'm going to give this one a 4.
Cool. Was this an Australian movie then?
Yes, it was an Australian movie. Yeah.
Yeah. See, now I have a lot of time for Australian cinema.
Definitely.
I have a lot of time for Australian cinema because I feel I have a lot of time for cinema that we don't get to see a lot of because America is a bit played out.
Yeah.
And so even when you go to a different country and even if they're doing a take on an American story, I think it's fascinating. And I think that now there's more of a thing of representing history as it actually was, as opposed to the way, you know, the victor, in inverted commas, decides to show you. It's like, and I think especially in Australia, there's this almost new wave of let's deal with our history. Yeah, because we used to be like, it used to be Ascension Days, and like, you know, this guy arrived in Australia.
Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, good lord.
But
good lord.
This I would recommend this, and I think Sharon would probably. You probably enjoy it too, Tosin. But I think it is one that's worth a watch if you get a chance to see it. The Furnace.
Any recognized actors?
No.
Ooh,
although I think the robber might be. I mean, I can't look anything up. Might have been in Gotham. He might have played.
Well, the thing is that you know that if it's Australian, and it's a cliche, but only because it's kind of true.
Yeah, you've got there's this piece in it where there's like you've got a Sikh, and you've got obviously Muslims, and the Muslims are doing their prayer, but the Sikh isn't, and the robber says, "How come you're not doing that?" And more or less saying, he goes, well, I'm a Sikh, you know, and we got a different, we don't do that. Yeah. You know, and so there's all those little, because he's got the turban on and that, you know, I'm a Sikh. I don't pray to the west, east, or whatever it is they do every time. So yeah, I probably could have spoken about this one a bit more, but I'll probably catch some others. So
all right, cool. I like this, but I was saying that if it's an Australian film, the cliche is that if you've watched Neighbours, you've probably seen a lot of the people in the film.
Yeah, no, it was this. There was a lot of. I think the Aborigine chap might have been the one that was in what was that other one we did a few weeks back?
The singing bird.
The Nightingale.
That's
yeah. I think it might have been that actor was probably the same. You know, them fellas. Them fellas.
Yeah, you know this is funny because I was going. It's a bird. I love that film. It's a singing bird. And I was like, pheasant.
Yeah.
I was like, the pheasant. I was like, no, it's not the pheasant. No one's gonna call the film the pheasant. All right. We carry on. So, Shaun, you've given us 2 films. So I think the only film that you have left to do is the one you're actually bringing to the table.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So we'll now go over to me and my thing I'm presenting for this week, and it is something I saw. That's it. St. Francis.
St. Francis.
Let me start up the timer on myself. 7 minutes. Right. So, St. Francis. This is a film that was released at the beginning, I think around about the beginning of 2020. I think it might have had a little bit of a run in cinemas in some places, but it's mostly shown up online for a lot of people. And on the surface of it, remember that I was a couple of months ago on the podcast, we were talking about the film The King of Staten Island. And my summary of The King of Staten Island, because it's like a lot of Judd Apatow movies, is like the summary of it is, man baby grows up a little. And that's the film. And this is a film that on the surface of it could be accused of being like the female version of it, because it's all about this woman. And the first scene of the film is a lady, and she's in a party, and there's this guy who's talking about the fact that he woke up one day and he just thought, oh my god, what have I done with my life? I might as well kill myself. I haven't achieved anything. I'm 34 and I haven't done anything, but don't worry, you still have a lot of time in your life. And she's like, he's like, what do you do? She's like, I'm a server in a restaurant. And he's like, but don't worry, you have a lot of time. He's like, no, I'm 34. And so the whole idea of the film comes about that she is at this part in her life. She's 34, she's dropped out of university, she hasn't achieved a lot of the things that people think that she's supposed to have achieved, be it family, be it house, be whatever that is. And a friend of hers who went to university with her before she dropped out has just quits this job because she's just had a child, and it's been a nanny for a child over the summer period. So it's the child's name is Franny. Everybody calls her Franny. Her name is Frances, hence the name of the film, Saint Francis.
Yep.
And it's about so she goes for the interview. She meets the child's parents. It's a lesbian couple who are about to have the second child. Yeah, it's a lesbian couple who are about to have the second child, and so she sort of leaves, going, "Oh, I think I messed it up. I don't think I got the job. Because I was just honest. I told them the truth. I don't really go on with my family. It was like, I don't go with my brother. It's like don't particularly like kids or anything like that. And you're supposed to look after the 6-year-old child." Then she gets a call where she gets a call of the family saying, "Can you come back? The person who we actually hired our child's not gelling with them. Could you come back, please? We need somebody short notice." So she goes back to be the nanny of this child throughout the summer, and it's essentially one of these films where you could say she doesn't really. It's not like she grows much throughout the film, but it's about a relationship. It's a relationship that she develops with the women, with the parents of the child, with the child herself. And this film, even though it has on the surface of it like a very sort of like, Arrested Development gets moved along a little bit. That's what this film really is about women and women's relationships. There are things that you see on this film, that you see on screen on this film, like a woman getting her period. A woman getting her period you're like, that you're kind of like, whoa. Don't see that on screen. Haven't seen that haven't seen that a lot. Then you start thinking, hang on a second. Why haven't I seen that on screen? I mean, you see all sorts of things with bodily functions with men, but you never see something that is an everyday occurrence for a lot of women. And then you start realizing that this film has a deeper thing at the heart of it. It's all there. So Shaun, you know how sometimes we talk about films when they have a point, or they have something, they have a cause that they're trying to raise. Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it gets a bit too much, like, oh, for goodness sake, okay, we get it, you have a cause, we get it, you think that's bad, we get it, you think... And this film does it what I think you would say is the right way, in that it tells a story, and within this story, then you have all these other issues that get dropped in there. There's things like, there's issues that touch on contraception, where you have some men who seem to think that contraception is a woman's job, and it's like, why is that a woman's job? There's things like, the pro-choice versus pro-life thing that come up. There's things like breastfeeding in public, and pretty much every scene in this film has something to do with what it's like to be a woman in the present world.
Right. Oh, right.
And
okay.
It's all about the women's relationships, and it's all about how they react together. I mean, the fact that they have a lesbian couple, I mean, it allows them to go into that area of things and just look at, it talks about postpartum depression and why that's such a big thing. It talks about one of the mothers is devoutly Catholic. And it's all about, okay, how do you marry that with what you're actually going through in life? If you're going through postpartum depression, how do you marry that with? It's like, have you seen a doctor? No, I've prayed. And it's and I think it's written by the lady who I think her name is Molly O'Sullivan, who plays the lead character. She plays the lead character Bridget, and I just think it's supremely well acted. Especially, and I have to say this because every time we see a good child actor, I think it deserves praise from the for the child actor and for the people who cast the child actor and from the director working with the child actor. So the child actor who plays Frances, she's 6 years old, is cute beyond belief, but also everything she does is kind of believable. Like there's a scene where she's being pushed by the nanny in a stroller, and the nanny sort of bounces the stroller to sort of because she's been sort of smart to her or anything like that, to sort of sort of punish her for being smart, and she kind of goes again and so I thought it was a very, very good film. There were some things in it that obviously it's what the filmmakers think. I think that there's more of a discussion to be had about it, but I like the way they put it forward. Especially when it comes to the whole pro-life, pro-choice thing, the way they put it forward, I really like the way they did it. There's a character in it where So she meets a guy at the beginning of the film who's younger than her, but like, you know, is really, really into her and everything like that. And he's the one who's trying to have a relationship, and she's the one who's just kind of going, "Oh, for goodness sake, what is wrong with you? Leave me alone." and I just think it's really, there's one scene she has with her parents, which I think is great. It's mostly with her mum because, again, the point of this film is about women's relationships and women's experience in the world nowadays. I think it's great. I think it's brilliant. I think I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I think it's an issue film that manages to not seem like an issue film. And it's only as you're watching it and you're going, I haven't seen that on screen like ever. I haven't seen the reality of that on screen like ever. Why is that? Like, there's a scene where there's a scene that is built around going to your boyfriend's house and what happens when your tampon won't flush down the toilet.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Things like that, yeah.
Yeah, and things like that. And those are things that we just don't see on screen. So I would say St. Francis, find it out. It's on Netflix at the moment. I think it's a really, really good film. I'm not sure if it's up for any Oscars or anything like that, but I think if in a normal year, there would probably have been a few more people clamoring about it. I think it was a Sundance hint. But anyway, let's carry on. And now we carry on to the final film of the show, which is Shaun. Shaun. You have thrown Gattaca to the side. You said no to Gattaca. You said no to The Furnace, which you really, really liked. I wanted to say more about. You said no to some other ones that I think you would much rather forget. Oh no, Antebellum. You said no to Antebellum and one other one that I've already forgotten. And you have brought this film. You have said this is the film that I'm going to bring forward. This is the film that I'm going to give my 7 minutes to.
This is the film I'm going to give my 7 minutes to. And yes, okay, now this film, James Franco film, I think, I know must really, really love his movies, must really, really love his films. And he's in this, he plays, he's like he's bald-headed, he's got a bald head, but he's got a tattoo of A Day in the Sun of Elizabeth Taylor and Montgomery Clift on his head.
Oh, wow.
And he just really, really loves that film. Anyway, he turns up in Hollywood, he's a bit of a drifter, and it's quite strange. He gets picked up, and he gets interviewed for the Tate murders and all that, and then that's sort of gone out the window, and he becomes a worker on the film.
So wait, this is a period drama set in what, 1950s, 60s?
Well, it covers a few years, so 69. So it covers from like 69, and then goes through.
All right, okay.
Goes all the way through. So anyway, he gets a job as a sort of set maker on a film sets and that, and he's walking along one day and he sees, and they're filming. Obviously, the years go very quickly. So, 1970, you got Love Story, and there's Ryan O'Neill and Addie McGraw. Obviously, not them and it's like they're being directed. The directors, and they say, no, it's love never means never to say you're sorry. Love means, and she keeps getting it all wrong. She goes, "Oh, I've had enough of this and all that." And he's watching this, and he's sort of thinking, "Oh yeah, all this movie stuff." And then this older lady comes and she's saying, "Oh yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it? And about the place in the sun and everything like that. Do you want to do some editing? Do you want to come in?" And he finds out all about editing movies and all things like that.
Yep.
And he goes to a party, and at this party you've got George Lucas, you've got Apocalypse Now, Coppola, you've got Spielberg, and they're all talking about the different films that they might make and everything like that. Anyway, he gets a job in the editing thing, and he gets a fixation on Megan Fox is in it. She plays this actress, and he picks out this film, Jean Rollin film called Vampiros Lesbos, and she's in this film because he's got a bit of a relationship with her, and says, "Oh, what sort of films have you done?" She says, "Oh, I've done a lot of European stuff." So he's looking through this big reel. John Rollin used to make sort of erotic vampire movies in the early 1970s, but he still gets fixated on her. So there's a bit of relationship there, and different things happen. Anyway,
Shaun, you haven't actually told us the name of the film yet.
Zeroville.
Zeroville. Okay, cool.
Zeroville. Yeah, Zeroville. Now, I think this film would probably be a totally Marmite, and it would either be, a lot of people think, what is this all about? What a load of rubbish. And in fact, I did actually look at some of the reviews on this, and it's the whole thing. It's from one, why bother? What a sloppy mess. What are this, that, the other, all that. And then there's the other saying, what a masterpiece. What a brilliant film. How did you do that? And if you're a lover of the sort of cinema that I love, obviously I'm going to think this is a terrific movie. And the movies within a movie, they show Eraserhead's in there. Oh yeah, he actually gets to the set of Apocalypse Now. Of like, so they're talking. There's like this little scene. He says, "Oh, you've got to come out to the Philippines. You've got to come out to the Philippines. You must come out. Your editing is brilliant. We need you at the Philippines." So you've got this bit where you've got like Marlon. You only see the back of his head, but you've got like Marlon Brando going. Oh, that's all right. Yeah. You've got Marlon Brando doing his bits and being directed and all that, and they're sort of watching from the background. And they say, "Oh yeah, this is brilliant. We need you to cut our films. We need you to edit the films. Your editing's brilliant." There's people in it like Will Ferrell. I don't really like Will Ferrell, but but yeah, no. And the films, anyway, the films were in this. So Megan Fox.
Sorry. You're gonna say something about Megan Fox, but it sounds almost a little bit like they've done a Forrest Gump, but with Hollywood through the years. Yeah, it's a little. Yeah, possibly. He's not the full ticket, but I mean, he's bright enough, James Franco, and obviously he's got his little core of people with Seth Rogen and all those. Yeah, people. I just meant like in the case of with the case of a fictional character going through actual historical events,
and linking them all together.
Yeah. I guess you could see it like that, but the films that are showing, the films he watched, and the icing on the cake was one of the films that he goes to a cinema. He's in New York.
Yeah.
And I can't really see what that... Oh, I've got a couple of minutes, have I?
Yeah, go. Minutes.
Okay. And, I mean, some of the films, these are films that people wouldn't really watch. He goes in the cinema and what's the film? It's The Holy Mountain. And I'm like, no way! I can't believe he's seen this film, because that is I mean, it's a total... That film is just so visual, really, really visual movie, which I watch, but it's just a crazy movie.
Well, it's kind of like a niche thing.
Yes, definitely. It's I can't even pronounce the guy's name. It's a Joronovsky film or something like that. He did another film called El Topo. So
yeah, I know Jaborowski.
Yeah, that guy. So
yeah, he was going to do Dune at one point.
He was, yeah. So, but I mean, I really, really like The Holy Mountain. It's a terrific thing. In fact, I've watched it a couple of times. I quite often put it on if I just want to sit back and be immersed in something that needs to be at the cinema. So that was like the icing on the cake. I thought, yeah, wow. The whole film to me was a love letter to that 70s genre of films, and everything in it was like, oh wow. So it was, but it would totally, yeah. And the one thing about when he's doing the editing, and the old woman says that to him, it's like, there's like a swear word, and it says continuity. So it's like the continuity. Yeah. So continuity is what he says. He's editing. No, continuity. But this. I mean, I really, really totally enjoyed this film. I really, really did, because of all the elements that were in there, and I could relate to it a lot. But I think most people would probably think, what a mess this film is. What the hell is it all about? What crazy things, So a lot of people wouldn't like this.
Yeah, because obviously it's starring James Franco and directed by James Franco. Because when you were talking about it, I was like, I need to look this up, because James Franco has kind of become almost like a more likable version of Shia LaBeouf, where he a lot of the stuff that James Franco does, it's like he doesn't care that much about being an actor or about being a sex symbol or about being a movie star. It's about him really wanting to be an artist. So when you started talking about this film and you said like James Franco, I was like, starring James Franco, I was like, I've got to check to see whether he directed it as well, and he did.
Yeah, he did.
He did direct it, and he is the kind of person who. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, that's all right. I was just going to say. I mean, was he the Green Goblin or the Green Goblin's son?
He was the Green Goblin. He was that was. And carry on.
Yeah, that was. But I used to think, didn't really rate him at all, and that. But I do really rate him because he did that other film, the Disaster Artist, didn't he?
Yeah. He played Harry Osborn.
Yeah, he played Harry Osborn in the Spider-Man ones, and I didn't like him then. I didn't as an actor. I was like, James Franco, don't like him. But he's certainly. I really do enjoy his stuff now. So yeah, so for me, this would be a 4-star film because I really totally loved it. But I think that was because I could relate to everything that was in it.
Yeah.
And The Holy Mountain was the icing on the cake. That was like for me, that was like a wow moment. But I think for the majority of people, they probably wouldn't have liked this film. They would think it's all over the place.
So you think it takes a real sort of cinephile to appreciate
definitely,
the film? Yeah.
Definitely, and you have to be in that particular time, I think, which is obviously which I come into that bracket. Yeah,
right in your wheelhouse. Right in
your
wheelhouse.
So for me, it's a 4-star, but don't go and watch it and say, "What the hell was that? How could you possibly give that?" So for me, it's a 4-star, but it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah, well, Shaun, you see, that's the thing. You could just tell anybody who comes up to you and goes, "Oh, I didn't like that film, Shaun. You said it was good." You could just say, "Well, I guess you just don't know enough about cinema."
I guess I could have said that.
I guess you're just not a big enough cinephile. Yeah,
I could do, but then I'm not that sort of person. I'm not smug.
But I am. But so, well, but I guess it's a bit like when you're talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and how for people like us who like that period and like that whole sort of like idea of what's going on, or something like Hail Caesar, which really just sort of like it's steeped in Hollywood, and there's a lot of stuff you just don't get if you're not into the films of that time. You don't get what's happening when Channing Tatum does that "Everybody Needs a Dame" song in Hail Caesar. You don't really get what's happening with some of the things when Brad Pitt or DiCaprio, or like when he goes into the search of on the set of that TV show, was it Bonanza or something like that? You don't really, you don't get that if you don't love film and go. Yeah, and I guess that's a bit like this. That there might be some stuff you'll get, but there's some stuff you'll miss out on.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that was 4 stars. 4 stars with a caveat. 4 stars with an asterisk from Shaun. It's like 4 asterisks. It's like, yeah, I loved it, but go do some research before you watch it. Go fall in love with 70s cinema, and then you'll get it. From Shaun. All right, so that's everything from us. And until next week, where we shall count down once more how close we're getting to the sweet return.
What do you think the first one will be? I mean, I'm holding off on Godzilla.
I think it's going to be Godzilla and Kong. Then maybe Bond will creep in there next.
But I'm going to wait. I'm trying to not.
I think some of them are still holding off, aren't they? Because even though Britain might be opening up again, I think Europe is going through another wave, and America looks like all their figures are ticking up again.
Yeah.
So I think some of them may even still hold off a bit longer.
Wow.
Yeah, well, the thing is that there have been some films, because there's a film that's up for Oscars at the moment called Another Round with Sharon. I'm looking at you. Who's in this film?
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes, Mads Mikkelsen. There's and that was released.
Getting some Oscar buzz, yeah.
It's getting some Oscar buzz, and that was released in cinemas in some areas around the world where it was allowed to. So I think that there are films that are trying to get into cinemas when they're allowed to. And I think, there's some films I know I'm hoping come into the cinema. I'm hoping that there's one called Raya and the Last Dragon. That is it's a Disney animated movie that was finished off during the lockdown, and it looks amazing, and it's on Disney Plus, but it's not on Disney Plus. They're doing that whole thing on Disney Plus that they did with Mulan, where they're like,
that's a bit extra.
Yeah, pay for Disney Plus. Oh, you pay for Disney Plus now? Pay another £16 to watch this film. And I'm like, no. So I'm hoping that gets released in cinemas. I know Dune. I think Dune is going to be a big one. I think Dune is still on for release this year. And in America, there's still talk about releasing it on HBO Max, and a lot of people are up in arms about that. So I'm hoping that Dune actually gets released in cinemas over here, because I think we'll have cinemas over here before a lot of America does. But
I hope Godzilla Kong is on, because otherwise I'm going to have to. Because I'm trying to not read anything about it or anything, but I think the buzz is pretty good. I mean, someone said to me, "Yes, this one's what you want to see. This is monsters more than people." So I thought, good.
I read a review about that, and I was like, it could have been me talking, because I have maintained for a while, since the Godzilla got released and it happened again in Kong Skull Island. I was like, you don't need humans in these films. Humans, why are there humans in this film?
Yeah.
I would much rather see a silent movie where Kong comes back home to Skull Island and finds that Godzilla has swum across the ocean and racked up on his patch. And then they have a fight because this is my house. What are you doing in it?
Yeah.
There doesn't need to be any words in it. I will watch that for 90 minutes. I don't need any human beings trying to make me think or explain the emotions, because how the heck do you know what Godzilla's thinking?
Exactly.
And it's a problem I've had. I mean, the Godzilla one I thought was all right. Godzilla King of Monsters, I was like, I'm not so sure about that. And with
Skull Island.
Well, no, with Skull Island was all right, but I think the human characters messed it up. And so with this one, is this one Godzilla versus Kong or Kong versus Godzilla? Because I think King Kong versus Godzilla was a 1960s one.
This
one is Godzilla versus Kong. Yeah, and this one, there's a bit of me that thinks, well, look at the cast that they've got in the film. They're going to want to give them something to do, and every line they give them is one more punch that we don't see Godzilla and Kong throwing against each other. I don't know about that one. Let me leave it at that. Until next week, when we might find out what will be the first film released in cinema, it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for joining us.